This is your host, Dorothy Shelton, aka Natura Vita, and this video is a summary of Mellon Thomas Benedict's remarkable near-death experience. Mellon Thomas died of terminal brain cancer and survived to tell about it. While in hospice care, Mellon died for at least an hour and a half before he returned to his body. He is one of the most studied near-deathers in the world, and he has taken part in more research than most other near-deathers. Deepak Chopra has called Mellon the encyclopedia of the afterlife in his book, Life After Death. In today's video, you're going to hear the remarkable story of Mellon's encounter with death and the conversations that he shares with the light ever since.
The life review is a very important natural phase of both living and dying. It's a very important thing, this life review that goes on with people that die. And mine started the second of my death and repeated backwards, and I got to see in my life review why I had gotten sick. And why I had gotten sick is that it started in the womb, prenatally. My father, my biological father, who's now dead, my mother's also dead now, but my biological father was beating my mother when she was carrying, and he was a bit of an alcoholic, and when he was punching her, I was inside her belly, and I was hearing the thunder. I was feeling her pain because I was wired to her nervous system, and every time he hit her, I felt her pain, I felt her depression, I felt her fear, and these things may affect different people different ways, but it pissed me off. And so I realized that I was born pissed off. That led to a life of being a joker at the parties, but really never really trusting people and never really getting close to people. And I never understood this till I had my life review. And in my life review, I saw that there was a moment in which I gave myself brain cancer. And I was, as children, we were being shown films of, duck and cover and nuclear weapons at school, and that cockroaches would be the only thing left. So all that was in my head. And then by the time I was in my 20s, the ecology thing was happening, and they were all saying, we're going to blow up the world 500 times, we're going to overpopulate, we're going to overgraze. The pivotal moment, which I saw in my life review, was this ecology group put out this photo that's quite famous. It was an aerial photograph of Los Angeles compared to a microscope picture of a cancer cell, and they looked very similar. The minute I saw that photograph, I had the thought in my head that nature had gone wrong and created a cancer called humanity, and humanity was a cancer on the planet that was going to kill this planet. And I lived with that thought, that belief in my head from that moment on. And guess what? I'm a human. I created brain cancer. So your world belief, how you see the world, the lens you look through, can be devastating or rejuvenating. And what happened was, one morning, I felt this blast of light coming in the window. I woke up for a split second, then fell back to sleep. And the next thing I know, I was outside of my body looking at my body. And there was a light leaving my body, and I just sort of said, I must be dead. That was what I thought to myself. I tried to wake up my hospice caretaker who was down the hall, but of course, not having a body, that I couldn't. The minute I realized I couldn't wake up my caretaker, I ended up back in the room that my body was in, and suddenly darkness closed in all around me. And I tell you, that was the scariest feeling in the world. It felt like hell. I fell into a deep, dark hole, as it were, almost like a black hole. And it seemed like there were many others in this same hole with me. I saw a pin light of light. It was almost like a little star in the blackness, but it was so far away. But almost immediately, my life review began. And my life review for me began as almost like a holographic movie in this darkness all around me. Once I got out of what I call the hell hole or the black hole I was stuck in and did make my way to the light, it was an amazing experience because something very similar to a guardian angel actually appeared to me as I called out. And I was calling out desperately for help. And I realize now that this was the metaphor for my own higher self, was reaching out to me. The only thing I could relate to something like that at the time was an angel because of my upbringing. And it was an angel who brought me to the light. But as I went to the light or the, quote, tunnel, was part of it was going to the light and the other part of it was coming from the light. And as I was moving up, I sort of realized that the column of light going up was all the people that were dying at that time. And the other side of the same light, actually, it was the same light beam, so to speak.
Was reborn. I had never received such love in my life as I received in the mandala of human souls with the light. I keep that love alive in my heart forever.
The eighth chakra is the ultraviolet chakra. And that's the chakra of purification. That happens when you finish your life review and you go to the light, you pass through what's called the eighth chakra, which is purification, because there's nothing in this world that you could ever do that will taint the oversoul, that will taint your soul. Nothing you will ever do, not even Adolf Hitler was tainted once he went through the light. And that's why the more you resist giving up what you might call darkness, the harder it is to get to the light. I know I was one of those. I was stuck to my darkness until I learned to forgive myself and forgive my life and love my life. In fact, I came back praying, I love my life, I love my life. And when my caretaker found me on the floor, I was talking in a low voice, and she said, I put my ear to your lips, and you were saying, I love my life, I love my life. What I learned, and what I believe to this day, is that the physical body that we live in actually gives us the most beautiful vehicle ever imagined to experience time and space and to experience the universe in ways that cannot be experienced while you're in spirit. It's great to have organs, believe me. When you're on the other side, you don't have organs. And there may be people here that think they're in pain, that are in pain, that think their life is not anything like they want. But I tell you, I have met people that would give you anything for the worst day of your life, because even the worst day of your life is so filled with potential. But once you're out of your body, you're out of time-space, and some people can take a long time to go to the light. It felt like it took forever for me to get to the light. Some people go immediately. But what's interesting is when I was looking at my body, this light was leaving my body, and many, many years later, I'm studying the field of biophotonics, and you've heard many people say that they see a light leave when the person dies. Well, that's proven now scientifically. When your cells start dying, they give up their biophotons, and you are emitting light until every single cell in your body has completely deteriorated. So you are giving off a light. You are giving off quanta material that goes into the subtle energy realm, which we call the other side. From almost right after my experience, I'd say within a couple of months after my experience, the light would just come and get me and take me out of my body. And every time that happened, I thought I was dying again. And so It took about a year or so where I got comfortable with these experiences and just would let it happen. If Phyllis Atwater and Ken Ring were the first to tell me that, Mellon, nobody else does this. I said, well, I go back to the light every day. At one point, I was told that I would, from now on, have contact with universal intelligence. Basically, what I learned was that creation has just begun, that we've just begun our journey, and the future is so bright for humanity. And I know people can't see that now because it's been a long, hard path coming up the evolutionary chain and coming up through evolution and civilization, building civilization as we've known it. But I was shown that human beings are one of the most graceful things ever on this planet, believe it or not. And to this day, I mean, check the World Health Organization. To this day, the biggest killer of mankind, more than all of mankind's wars all put together, is still the mosquito. In the human world, we have just begun concepts of charity, the concept of retirement. It's an amazing concept. I tell you, that's a very simple metaphor for something a little more complex that's going on in all the universe. I mean, stars feed and destroy each other. There's a certain give and take in the universe. I tell you, at one point when I was with the light, I asked the light, I said, why are humans so dark and doomed? I was shown, given a glimpse into every human soul. I was given a glimpse, and there was no blackness at all. There was no evil whatsoever. And at that moment, I fell in love with humanity. There's always much more good going on than evil. It's just that our media, we're still coming out of survival. We haven't transcended survival yet, so we're constantly on the lookout for what we call evil. Just not too long ago, I was in an elevator, and a woman got on with a T-shirt that said, "The meek are getting ready." You can't put an actual time on this. That would be impossible to do. But I can tell you, it's so close now, it's in the blinking of a cosmic eye. And I got to see what's called the mass potential of humanity. And the mass potential of humanity is looking into the heart of humans. And there's goodness in every human heart there ever has been. Once you go to the light, you are completely purified of any disease, any darkness, any what you might call evilness. You are completely purified and begin your reincarnation. There are 3 levels of reincarnation, as I was taught. One is the automatic survival of the species reincarnation. You could call it bloodline reincarnation. And it's more powerful than your mind. I know there's a lot of people that teach that the mind created everything, but I was shown on the other side that the mind is one of the last things that showed up. Your body is millions of years much older than your mind. And our mind is in such a young state at this time that it's like a child. You know, there's a certain time when children are so young, they think they're the center of the universe and they have no cares about anyone else.
Right.
We're still a little bit in that stage, sort of like, remember when Galileo tried to show the church that the earth was not the center of the universe? And you look at most human religions, and I'm not putting down any of them, but most human religions on the planet have not had the Galileo effect yet. We're not actually the center of God's eye. We're a part of a whole beautiful system called the Gaia. And we're about to mature as a species, which is very important to the survival of the species and the planet. And this is something I never knew about before I went to the other side, but I was shown this in like these great, I guess you call them movies, but I was shown that what we call the Gaia concept is that the whole Earth, and I guess the astronauts were some of the first to see this, although the ancients talked about it, is that the whole Earth is actually one living being. It's a fantastic life form, and we're all a part of this. The human part of it is absolutely an incredible, special part. Just every human alive today has worked their way up from primordial into being the top of the DNA chain. We have the top DNA on the planet. I know that may rub some people wrong, but we do. Our DNA is really the book of life on the planet. Every human being alive today has been everything this planet has been so far. But on this particular planet, with the type of star that we have and the gravity and all of that, we are the sum total of everything that's happened on this planet and a great creation. We're just learning now not to separate ourselves from nature or the planet. The ancients tried to tell us this, and I think we're just beginning to understand it now. But what happens is, as we mature, within a couple of 100 years, maybe a little sooner, we start actually having true contact, not mysterious, fuzzy pictures and all that. And what we learn from these other civilizations speeds us along so quickly, it's astounding what comes to us. like I said, we're like the Noah's Ark. We will take all of life on Earth with us. Well, in cosmic time, it's the blinking of an eye, and this certainly will start happening within the next 400 years. There'll be a great period, though, once we start star seeding that's phenomenal. You remember all the wagons going out west, those wagon trains? The star seeding, going to new worlds, is going to be a fantastic period of human history, but the Earth itself will become more like a natural park. It'll be like Mecca. It'll be like the place you want to visit one time in your lifetime. You want to visit the mother planet. Our ascension, as I learned on the other side, from the Gaia perspective, is a very natural evolution of dense being into more subtle being. Already at the quantum level, the human body is so very subtle. No two atoms even touch. We are more spirit than flesh, always have been, always will be. There is no beginning or end to our journey. Life did not begin here. Life does not end here. The distance from the outside of an atom to the inside of an atom is huge in scale with the rest of the cosmos Godhead. The journey from the outside to the inside, from the inside to the outside, from anywhere to here is an impossible journey that happens every day in everything, everywhere. The journey is not linear or time restricted. Dive in when and where you choose. 2012, 2060, why wait? The end of time-space illusion is near. How near? Is now a good time? The past, present, and future come together in the great now. There have always been Lemurians, Atlanteans, the Dreamtimers. Lemuria is now. Atlantis is now. We are all here together right now. The next epoch of consciousness and history is the now. In reality, there never was a past. There is no future. Listen to your teachers. It is always now. It always was now. It always will be now. The only time you have is now. The ever-expanding now. Is the universe expanding, or is our consciousness expanding? Who is to say, if not you? There is no other self but the self. Inner, outer, you, me, them. There is no self but the self. Micro, macro, mumbo jumbo. Let the infant intellect split hairs to infinity, and you still end up here